Zach here. Have you ever wondered why sometimes people are more successful than other people, even though you're working your guts out? Well, today we're going to talk about that and how to actually make that start making things go your way. Let's get after it. Okay. So, have you guys ever looked at athletes, looked at musicians, looked at businessmen, business ladies, whatever it may be, anybody who has success, and you say to yourself, "My gosh, I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm working my fingers to the bone, and I'm only making minimum wage, or only $20 an hour, 50, whatever the minimum wage is now, or a lower wage than you think that you should be working or making more." But for some reason, you're just not. It just feels like the world's passed you by. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. And I don't know if you ever heard about it, but it's kind of like when you're trying to date somebody, especially guys. Guys, if you're out there hunting for a gal, and somehow girls get that vibe of you're hunting, and they just avoid you like the plague. That's honestly, that's how I landed my wife. I stopped looking for a gal, and then lo and behold, she showed up. Well, money's a lot of times the same way, and let me flesh it out for you, just so you kind of get the idea. Money's got a way of, if you're hard after and that's all you think about, and money, it avoids you like the plague because it knows that you're hunting for it, so to speak. Whereas the people who are successful, so whether that be business people, whether that be musicians, athletes, authors, name the thing, what they're really after isn't money. Yes, they do want that product in the end, but what they're focused on is becoming the best version of themselves in that arena. So let's take football. We're in America. Let's take football. How many games does a NFL player have in a year? If they don't make the playoffs, they have 17 games. Well, how long is a game? It's about 3 hours. How many plays does an offensive player have? Usually it's about 72 plays per side. So as an offensive player, you might have 36 to 72. Same thing as a defensive player. Well, how long is a play? It's about 4 seconds, maybe 5 on a long play if you really have it going. So if you flesh that out, they're really only playing maybe, I'll just give them half the quarter. So let's just say they're playing for 30 actual minutes of that 3 hours. Okay, so that's when we're seeing them perform. Well, how many minutes did they spend practicing? How much time did they spend in the off season prepping their body? How much time did they spend, looking at game footage? How much time did they spend on drills? All this stuff. And so what you really find is people who are professionals and are getting paid at a very, very high level, they practice 8 to 10 times more than they actually perform. Where us as amateurs, we practice, maybe, but we try to perform, as much as we possibly can. We play in the football leagues on the weekends, or the softball leagues, every couple nights. We're professional baseball players. How much time do they spend on working on flexibility, mobility, drills? You get the point. Same thing with musicians. A fan favorite of mine, I play guitar. I enjoy listening to John Mayer play guitar because he's an amazing guitarist. Same thing with Ed Sheeran. You look at how much time those guys spend playing guitar, just practicing, working on lines, working on songs. It's probably 5 to 10 hours a day when they're in their mode of, I need to play. But us who, want to play at the coffee shop or maybe at the bar on a Saturday night, maybe we'll practice an hour or two a week. You get the point, right? They're not chasing the dollar bill. What they're chasing is being the best version of themselves. And so what I want to talk about is, how do you do that? How do you practice in an environment where you don't have the same time that they do? And it's actually a lot more simple than you really think. And it just involves getting really good at your time management and how that works. So I'm in corporate sales. I work X amount of hours a week. How do I become a better salesperson? Or, if you're a welder, how do you become a better welder? Or if you're wanting to go into this next phase of your life, whatever that may be, how do you get better at something that you can't practice all the time? Carve out the time. As simple as that may seem, as a salesperson, I've done 7-figure deals. I've done, 5-figure deals, and everything in between, and even then some. And what I have found is that the more that I work on my craft, so me as a salesperson, communication, number one, Learning how to read people, number 2, because what is it? It's not the words that you say, it's the words that they heard is what they actually heard. I've learned that the hard way in sales. I've lost some sales that way, and after learning that lesson, won a heck of a lot more sales that way as well. But if you're transitioning into a different part of your life, whether that's going from dating to married, or single to dating, or in your business, hey, I want to get out of like where I was a welder for well over a decade and got out of that just because I wanted to change kind of the result of where my life is. Nothing against welders. It's hard work. I got out of it because I saw people doing it 20, 30 years longer than me, and it's hard on your body. It just is. And so I wanted to be able to play with my grandkids. I wanted to be able to play with my kids, as I get to 50, 60, 70 years old, and not have what I was doing affect that. And so got out of that and started reading people skills books, started reading sales books, started looking for ways of how I could get into sales, whether it was with the company that I was welding, because I had a great skill, I was good at it. How can I transition that to sales? Same thing with whatever you're doing, whether it's you're in bookkeeping. How do you go from being an accountant to maybe starting your own firm or becoming the head of the accountants, whatever it may be. And a lot of times it's just a skill, and we all know this, talent is God-given, but skill can be learned by anybody. The frustrating part is some people take longer to learn that skill, and some people can pick it up just like that. And whatever cards you're dealt, that's what you're gonna have to deal with. It took me a long time to learn a couple different things and to get better at what I was doing, whether it's communicating, writing out proposals, or communicating, or cold calling, or just you name the thing. It just takes some time, and some people's learning curve is a little bit longer than others. So what? Is it the thing that you're wanting to transition to improve? Is it worth taking a couple extra hours a week? And here's the crazy part. I forget who it is. He owns his wife owns Spanx. I forget. He's a serial entrepreneur, owns lots of businesses. I think he started JetBlue. I forget his name at the moment. Did a really good book with David Goggins where he trained him for a marathon. And he said something really profound, and I thought it was really interesting. And he said, if you 100 hours a year, that's what separates you from 95% of people in whatever you're doing. And he said, let's reverse engineer that. How much is 100 hours over a year? Well, he says that's only 18 minutes a day. I can do anything 18 minutes a day. And so if you're in the process of getting towards, whether it's sales, whether it's working your way up the corporate ladder, whether it's starting your own business, I mean, my gosh, 100 hours a year, and it's only 18 minutes a day, and that can separate you from 95% of the people out there in that given subject or field. That's a huge advantage with such a minimal commitment. I mean, think about it. I mean, how much time do people spend, doing this thing on social media? Scroll, or, in the car while you're driving to work. How long is your commute? Can you listen to a podcast that can educate you, that can get you in a different mindset, that can, break down those barriers that are holding you from the next step that you want to take in the transition, whether it's a pastor. My gosh, a leader and a CEO, obviously they know that their leadership is not capped. They need to grow because the company's going to grow. Do you think the leaders are just sitting there idly, just twiddling their thumbs like, oh, I've made it? Well, there might be some that do, but you know which ones those are, because those are the ones that are shortly going to be losing their job and being replaced by somebody who's hungry, that's actually growing and wants to grow whatever corporation or business that they're going into. And so I'm here to say, only 18 minutes a day. That's it. Is that hard? I mean, some people, go to the bathroom 18 minutes in a session, if you know what I'm saying. So, gosh, you can find that anywhere, whether it's at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the day. But here's the separator fact. You actually have to schedule it. Because if you don't, what ends up happening with your time? Oh, my kids, I had to go pick them up early, or, oh, I got to bed too late, or, oh, my dog got sick. Whatever it may be, whatever the excuse is, if you don't put it on your calendar, it's not going to be done. And I can hear the words, I don't need a calendar. I can do it all the time. I'm telling you, the sooner you get into the habit of using that calendar, taking the time, those 18 minutes, that's all it is, and devoting that, excuse me, and carving that out in your schedule, taking that time to read, to listen, to practice your sales pitch. A good friend of mine, His name's Brandon. He owns a transportation company, multi-millionaire, super successful guy. Started out as just a business development guy, and ended up going into logistics. Started his own business. He would literally take the time while he was showering, getting ready for the day, to practice his pitch and perfect it, fine tune it. How would I say to this person? How would I say to this person? Then once he got into his car and he was going out to visit a client, you know what he was doing? He was still practicing his pitch, practicing how he wanted to present it to those people so that it would best help them. So if he can find it in the shower, on the commute to work, or to the job, to the site, to the customer, or on the way back, you can find 18 minutes. That's all it takes. Think about that. 18 minutes a day for 1 year will separate you from 95% of the people out there in the world. But you know what? 95% of the people that hear what I'm saying right now aren't going to do it. But 5% will. And then the next year, think about the next year after that compounds. And it's the next year, and the year after that. And how much closer to that quote unquote 1% you actually get by doing it year after year. And if you want to make it faster, spend more time during the year doing it. Super simple. It's just a math problem. That's all it is. It's just math. Super simple. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. I'd love to see you on the next one. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me what you're transitioning to. Tell me about what you're deciding to do for 18 minutes to make that change. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.